Jennifer felt something was wrong with her room. She heard strange voices, 3 of them, talking together. It scared her. She felt like someone was watching her. Jennifer was only 14. Her father built their new house on land where a river used to flow. People said her father filled the river with sand and built their house on top. The voices Jennifer heard were weird. They whispered and laughed. It sounded like they were planning something. Jennifer didn't know what it meant. But she knew it couldn't be good. Every night, Jennifer felt the presence in her room. It was like someone was waiting for her. She tried to ignore it, but she couldn't shake the feeling. Something was off about her room. She could not sleep peacefully at night without hearing the sound of the unknown creatures. One night, Jennifer went to bed, covering herself with her cloth. She said her prayers and closed her eyes, ready to sleep. But as she drifted off, she started hearing the voices again. 3 creatures, talking to each other in a language she couldn't understand. Jennifer's heart began to pound. She tried to sit up, but her body felt heavy. She couldn't see the creatures, but their voices grew louder, more urgent. It was like they were trying to tell her something. Suddenly, Jennifer felt a chill run down her spine. She looked around the room, and that's when she saw it. Water, seeping out of the ground, spreading across the floor like a dark stain. Jennifer's eyes widened in horror. What was happening? Was she dreaming? The water kept rising, creeping up the legs of her bed. Jennifer tried to scream, but her voice was trapped in her throat. The creatures' voices grew louder, more frantic. It was like they were trying to warn her of something. At that moment, Jennifer saw the most shocking thing of her life. The water didn't just rise, it became a swirling river, right in her bedroom. And then, she saw them. 3 creatures, like humans, but with the bodies of fish. They were like mermaids, with human heads and fish tails. Jennifer's eyes were frozen in terror. The creatures swam in the river, talking to each other in their strange language. Then, they stopped swimming and turned to Jennifer. She tried to scream, but her voice was stuck in her throat. It was her first time seeing such creatures, and she didn't know what to do. One of the creatures raised a hand, palm facing Jennifer. "Keep your voice down," it said in a low, rumbling voice. "We are not here to hurt you." Jennifer's eyes darted between the creatures, her mind racing with questions. What were they? Why were they in her room? And what did they want from her? Jennifer was amazed. "You can talk?" she asked, her voice shaking. The creatures nodded. Jennifer's eyes were wide with fear. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Why is my room covered with water? Who are you? Please don't hurt me." Just as the creatures were about to answer, Jennifer's door slammed open. It was her mother. "Jennifer, who are you talking to?" her mother asked, looking around the room. Jennifer's eyes darted to the creatures, but they were gone. The water was gone too. Jennifer's mother looked confused. "Jennifer, are you okay? I heard you talking, but there's no one here." Jennifer's eyes were fixed on the spot where the creatures were. She couldn't believe what just happened. The creatures, the water, it was all gone. Jennifer's mother walked closer to her. "Jennifer, what's going on? You're scaring me." Jennifer opened her mouth to explain, but what could she say? That creatures from the river were talking to her. That her room was flooded with water. It sounded crazy. Jennifer knew her mother would never believe her crazy story. "Mom, I just had a bad dream," Jennifer said, trying to sound calm. Her mother looked worried. "What happened in your dream, sweetie?" Jennifer shrugged. "I don't know. It was just scary." Her mother smiled. "It's okay, baby. It was just a dream. Go back to bed." Jennifer nodded, but her mind was still racing. What were those creatures? Why did they appear in her room with water? She couldn't shake the feeling that something strange was going on. As she lay back in bed, Jennifer's eyes scanned the room. Everything seemed normal now. But she knew what she saw. And she knew it wasn't a dream. Those creatures were real. And she was determined to find out what they wanted. Saturday morning, Jennifer's parents left for the farm, leaving her alone at home. She sat quietly, her mind racing with thoughts of the creatures. Why did they appear in her room? And what did they want? Jennifer's eyes wandered to the floor, thinking about the land beneath her feet. Her father built their house on a river, covering it properly with sand and concrete. Jennifer's curiosity grew. Is it possible that the river was where the creatures came from? But how? The land was covered with solid concrete. How could they still come out? Jennifer's mind was filled with questions. She needed answers. She had to find out what was going on. The creatures' strange voices echoed in her mind. What did they want from her? As Jennifer thought about the creatures and the river, she started hearing the voices again. The water began seeping out of the floor, spreading across the room. The three creatures emerged from the water, their fish tails swishing back and forth. They stopped in front of Jennifer, their human eyes staring at her. "Hey, my friend," one of the creatures said. "We're here again." Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. She was scared, but she tried to hide it. "We were saying something before your mother interrupted," the creature continued. "Please, you mustn't tell her about this. It's very important." Jennifer nodded, her eyes fixed on the creatures. "What do you want from me?" she asked again. The creatures exchanged a glance. "We need your help," one of them said. "Our life is in danger. We need to achieve something very important to us." Jennifer's curiosity grew. "What is it?" she asked. The creatures hesitated before answering. "We need your help to get our home back," one of them said. Jennifer's eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean?" she asked. Just as the creatures were about to explain, Jennifer heard her mother's voice outside. "Jennifer, are you okay?" her mother called out. The creatures quickly disappeared, and the water receded. Jennifer's mother opened the door, a look of concern on her face. "Jennifer, I heard you talking to someone again," she said. "Who are you talking to?" Jennifer's heart skipped a beat. She knew she had to come up with an excuse fast. But before she could say anything, her mother's expression changed from concern to suspicion. "Jennifer, I know you're not talking to yourself," she said slowly. "Who's in this room with you?" Jennifer's eyes darted around the room, but she knew she was alone. Jennifer lied to her mother again, saying she was alone and hadn't been talking to anyone. Her mother believed her, but Jennifer knew she couldn't keep lying forever. That night, Jennifer waited anxiously for the creatures to return. When they appeared, she told them to lower their voices. "What do you want from me?" she asked. The female creature spoke up. "We want our home back." Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "What home? How can I help?" "This room, where you sleep, is our home." Jennifer's eyes widened in shock. "How is this room your home?" The creatures exchanged a glance. "Your father made a mistake," the male creature said. "He built this house on top of our home, our kingdom. We need to get our home back." Jennifer's mind reeled. "But this land is dry. It's not a river." The creatures shook their heads. "This land is a river, covered up by your father's construction. Our kingdom is dying. We need our land back, our home back. All the creatures will die if we don't get it back." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to help, but how? Just as she was about to ask, the creatures vanished. "We have to go now," they said. "We'll come back soon." And with that, they disappeared, leaving Jennifer with more questions than answers. Jennifer couldn't shake off the creatures' words. They needed her help to get their home back, but how? She felt a pound of guilt, knowing that her father's actions had harmed their kingdom. She wanted to help but didn't know where to start. The next day, Jennifer pretended to have a headache, convincing her mother to let her stay home from school. As soon as her parents left the house, Jennifer sat down, waiting anxiously for the creatures to return. "Hey, creatures! Hey, strange beings! Come now, I'm here. I'm waiting to help you," she called out, but there was only silence. Jennifer waited and waited, but the creatures didn't appear. She began to worry that they wouldn't come back. Just as she was about to give up, Jennifer saw water seeping out of the ground. Her heart skipped a beat. "They're coming," she exclaimed, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. As the water spread across the floor, Jennifer stood up, her eyes fixed on the spot where the creatures usually appeared. She took a deep breath, ready to face them again. The creatures swam closer, their eyes locked on Jennifer. "We're back," one of them said. "And we need your help." Jennifer nodded eagerly. "I'll do anything to help you. Just tell me what I need to do." The creatures exchanged a nervous glance. "It's not going to be easy," one of them warned. "We're not even sure if you can help us." Jennifer's face was set in determination. "I'll try. Just tell me what's going on." The creatures took a deep breath. "Our kingdom is dying. The only way to save it is to get our home back." Jennifer nodded. "I understand. But how do I help?" The creatures' voices dropped to a whisper. "The only way to get our home back is to destroy this house." Jennifer's eyes widened in shock. "Destroy the house," she repeated. The creatures nodded. "Yes. This house is built on top of our kingdom. If it's destroyed, our kingdom will be free." Jennifer felt a wave of hesitation. She knew how much her father had struggled to build this house. She remembered the countless times he had been rejected by landlords and the countless times he had been forced to move from one rented house to another. And now, these creatures were asking her to destroy the very thing her father had worked so hard to achieve. Jennifer felt torn. On one hand, she wanted to help the creatures. On the other hand, she couldn't bear the thought of hurting her father. The creatures sensed her hesitation. "We know it's a lot to ask," one of them said. "But please, Jennifer. Our kingdom is dying. We have no other choice." Jennifer took a deep breath, her mind racing with the weight of their request. Could she really bring herself to destroy her family's home? Jennifer's mind was racing with thoughts of the creatures and their plea for help. She knew she had to tell her parents, but she was scared of how they would react. What if they didn't believe her? What if they thought she was crazy? That night, Jennifer sat down with her parents in the living room. She took a deep breath and blurted out, "I need to tell you something." Her parents looked at her curiously. "What is it, Jennifer?" her mother asked. Jennifer hesitated, unsure of how to begin. "I've been seeing things," she said finally. "Strange creatures. They're asking for my help." Her parents exchanged a skeptical glance. "What kind of creatures?" her father asked. Jennifer took another deep breath. "They are like mermaids. But they are not just mermaids. They are people, too. And they are dying. They need my help to save their kingdom." Her parents looked at her like she was crazy. "Jennifer, honey, you must have been dreaming," her mother said gently. But Jennifer shook her head. "No, Mom. I'm telling you, this is real. And they're asking for our help." Her father snorted. "What do they want us to do?" Jennifer steeled herself. "They want us to destroy the house." Her father's expression turned from skepticism to outrage. "Destroy the house? You must be joking. I worked hard to build this house, and now you're telling me to tear it down because of some crazy dream you had." Jennifer tried to explain, but her father cut her off. "Shut up, Jennifer. This is nonsense. You're wasting my time with your silly dreams." Jennifer felt tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. She knew she had to convince her father, but he wasn't listening. "I'm telling you, Dad, this is real." Jennifer protested, but her father just stood up and walked away. "I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense," he said, leaving Jennifer feeling frustrated and defeated. Jennifer turned to her mother, desperation in her eyes. "Mom, please listen to me. I'm not telling dreams. This is real. Those creatures are going to die if we don't help them." But her mother just shook her head, her expression firm. "I'm sorry, Jennifer. I know you're convinced, but this is just too much. Your father worked tirelessly for years to build this house. Do you know how long it took him? How much sweat and blood he put into it?" Jennifer felt a surge of frustration. "That's not the point, Mom. The point is that there are living creatures suffering because of this house. Please, you have to believe me." But her mother just stood up, her voice cold. "I will never help you with this crazy dream, Jennifer. Never. You need to stop this nonsense and focus on your studies." Jennifer felt a stinging sensation in her eyes as tears began to form. Defeated, Jennifer trudged back to her room, feeling like she'd failed the creatures. She sat on her bed, staring blankly at the wall as the creatures appeared before her. "What did your father say?" one of them asked, opening their eyes. Jennifer shook her head, feeling a lump form in her throat. "He didn't believe me. He thinks I'm crazy." The creatures' faces fell, fear creeping into their eyes. "Our kingdom will die," one of them whispered. "We are running out of time. Our families, our friends, our entire world will be destroyed. We'll never see the light of day again. Our children will never play in the rivers, never dance under the stars. Everything we hold dear will be gone, lost forever." The creatures' voices cracked as they spoke, their bodies shaking with sobs. The creatures knew they had to do something before they all die.